So I guess we'll get started. Can everyone hear me? Yes? Audio is working? Testing? Ah, good. Alright, so let's get started. So this lecture is, I was debating with myself whether or not I would do a lecture on this topic. The topic of the lecture, of course, is Refuting Trick Plays. And I had a lot of internal debate, and I asked a few people about whether they thought it would be a good idea, because what I don't want to happen at the end of this lecture is for all of you to see all of these trick plays and then start playing them in every single one of your games. Because, you know, trick plays, I think the best, well, okay, but no, listen, seriously, look. Playing trick plays is like taking cocaine, okay? In the short term, it will make you feel really, really good, and you know what? You might even win a game, okay? But in the long term, it's going to destroy your body, destroy your soul, and, you know, it's going to stop you from improving, okay? You are going to be crippling yourself in the long term if you rely on trick plays to win your games, okay? Yes, exactly. Knowing how to defend against them, however, is incredibly important because you may face other players who will be using them. So I would preface this entire lecture, and I will be repeating it multiple times, that I would ask that you not use these trick plays in every single one of your games just to say, ha ha ha, I tricked you, because you're just going to be crippling your own play style. Alright, so let's get started. That out of the way, we're going to start off with a few simpler ones and then move on to more complex ones. So, our first move is C14, which is a very interesting trick play. Of course, the normal idea for white is to, you know, if white wants to invade the corner, the normal strategy, of course, is to play C3. And then, you know, you can expect something like this to occur, and this is pretty standard stuff in terms of variations. But the trick play here is C4. So now the question is, what do you guys think? How should black reply? Any ideas? So we have a suggestion at D5, suggestion at D3. You say misclick in chat. Yeah, that's a good strategy. All right, so we have a C3 as well. Lots of interesting ideas. Let's see where each of them lead us. So these are the three most obvious moves that black can play. D3 reverts. So yeah, when D3 happens, you basically get this result, and actually you can get tricked here. Mainly due to direction. Simplest move here for, is you can get something along these lines to occur. And F7 looks a little awkward, but it actually works very effectively here. And black usually isn't too thrilled with this result, depending on what's going on the board. Usually not ideal. You can play a few variations, actually, if you want to make it a bit better. So one idea for black, instead of playing C6, is to play here. And this, of course, has the advantage of not providing any cutting points for white to abuse. So this can be considered good. It depends what's going on the rest of the board. But D3 is possible sometimes. C3, however, is much harder to make work exactly right. But you can actually get a good result from it if you play it right from here. So C3 is possible depending on how you follow up. So black needs to play up, and then white plays in, and then black extends. And now what's the shape point? Someone who's not a Don player? Anyone shape point for white? Yes, E2. E2 is indeed the shape point. And then this can be expected to happen. And then white can either extend or play this, and this is actually a pretty even result. This is really what white should be aiming for. This is what black should be aiming for with this move. And so black can actually end up all right here. Now this is one of the worst responses that black can do. This doesn't end very well for black usually. This is well, actually, here, wait, nope, no, no, this is the proper move. Something along these lines occurs, and black is not particularly thrilled with this result, I guess, suffice it to say. Not particularly thrilled. But so C4 is a pretty basic one. It doesn't have any devastating responses. You know, it's yeah, he has a stick. It's not a fancy one. It's a basic, simple one, and you may see players play it against you. So the ideal move is C3 is perfectly fine. You can get a absolutely acceptable result by playing C3 without complications. This is basically a one-way street. No variance, and you know, black lives on the side, white lives on the side, white still needs to complete a shape, and it's a basic exchange. So this was a... Oh, you've never seen it. Well, I've seen it a few times. So let's go into a few more interesting ones. This is one that is a little more high level, but I'm sure a lot of our players will enjoy it, and is one that's probably familiar to a lot of players. The S15 move. So the S15 move is something of a higher level approach. You know, when you don't want to approach directly at R17, and you still want to do something to interrupt black's framework here. Then you know, this is a very, very good technique to know of. S15, slightly more advanced move, and black's move to respond is S16. Yes, S15. Oh, this is extremely common. This is extremely common. No, the trick comes next. So what are the normal moves for white here? No, the trick play is yet to come. Normal moves for white. Any ideas? Someone said R12, someone said R16, P6. No, we're talking about the normal moves now. The normal moves. Q15. Lots of ideas. Lots and lots and lots of ideas. Oof, all sorts. Okay, so let's take a look at these. So the key here, first of all, that white wants is white needs to strengthen his S15 stone. If white just directly plays this move, the problem is black will likely just do this. And white is left with, if white does respond, even if he does respond, he's left with half an eye. Yeah, it's not the best situation for white to be in now. Black's corner is a lot more solid, and white still only has basically half an eye. So, not ideal. Same problem with E. I mean, it can help you get out, but you know, it's not going to make you any eyes. I mean, even if black just plays really simple like this lets white get stronger, which sometimes black might not like, but it just gives black a really giant, you know, 100% safe corner. But you know, black could also consider playing more aggressively. You know, he could consider a move like this, or cap him. You know, it depends what's going on the rest of the board. But it's hard for white to say that he can make a stable group very, very quickly with this move. So the two most common moves here are R15 and R16. And they both have slightly different situations. So you know, I want to explain what normally happens so we can fully understand the fun trick here. So the simplest way for white to play is just R15. And then black obviously responds like that. And white makes a two-space extension. And, you know, white's a little bit cramped, but, you know, this was black's area to begin with. So, I mean, white's pretty happy with himself. He at least has one eye, and depending on what's going on the rest of the board, maybe R10 isn't very strong anymore. Now, the more complex one, normally, is this move. And this leads to all sorts of fun, depending on... I keep mixing them up? What do I keep mixing up? Am I? I don't even know what. Oh, I mix up the colors. Yeah, I'm sorry. It happens. No, it's not the trick yet. Wait, I'll tell you when it's the trick. Okay, this is another normal move. So if black wants to be defensive, black will play R17, and then white will respond, of course, and then black will prevent the eye, and then white will often take this move, and then black will extend out. And naturally, this is a modest amount better than the other method. I mean, we can clearly see that black's corner is shrunk a tiny bit, and white's group is a bit stronger. So it's not a huge difference, of course, but it's nevertheless noticeable. White's shape is stronger, certainly. So the other variation for black, which is, I would also caution people before trying this before you know exactly what you're doing, because this is potentially more complicated. So the idea now for white is white's going to make a big sacrifice. First, white gets himself liberties, and then he plays S14. And now we can go into a long lecture about why black can't play this. It's pretty simple. White just takes the corner. Black doesn't like that, so black needs to play this move to kill the corner. And that gives white this move. And then white plays a fancy shape move here. And black tries to wedge into the shape. And then depending on the board situation, white will either play this move or this move. In this particular case, I think R12 is better. And so white gives up a sizable corner. Absolutely, no one can say that, why P14? What would you do instead of P14? Just Tanuki or jump or what? Capture. Oh, I mean, the problem is, white gets this. And that gives white a free continuation. Yeah, white's very, very solid here. So you could Tanuki. I mean, yeah, it's not like it's absolutely critical that you do play a move, but if you do Tanuki, white's going to get this and make himself fantastic shape in Sente. And, black's shape is now kind of bulky, and Q17 still has some AGA if his O17 stones still get trapped up. So it's important for black to keep white's shape weak by responding here. It's an important shape weakening move. But these are the proper variations. Now we're going to look at a fun little trick play which some people have alluded to already, which is, of course, let's see, where is the original one? Which is, of course, P16. S13. Oh, in the other variation, you mean in the peep. Oops. Where'd that thing go? No, wait, gotta find it. Too many variations. Too big of an SGF. This is what happens when you don't organize your SGFs properly. So your question was going into this variation. Oh, what about S13? I mean, you could play S13 here, but it's not that amazing an attack because white's basically out into the center, and black stones are still weak. Oh, S13. What, here? Like this? I would not recommend it for you because this will happen. And white's very happy. The key is just those forcing moves first just make white's shape so much stronger. So let's go on to the fun tricks that you can have with it. Where's that damn trick? Right, so the trick here is P16. So question here is how does black respond to it? Any ideas? This is an interesting move. What does black do about it? Ideas? Let's see. We have so the P17 reflexive move, of course, the basic move. We have someone say Q18. Resign. Oh, someone always has to suggest resign. Thank you for your original comment. Q15. Oh, and of course, no lecture would be complete without someone suggesting T19. Thank you. Ah. So let's take a look at these three. Okay, yeah, we're talking locally, everyone. So don't say somewhere else. Okay, locally, obviously. Oh, and P15 is a good move to look at. Absolutely. And, oh yeah, Q17 too. Absolutely. All very, very good variations to review. All right, so let's take a look at some of them. So what happens if black just plays the absolute simplest move? Well, then white wedges in. And now we have a few interesting things that'll happen. If black just plays normal defensive moves, this happens, and then white gets this, and this is slightly better than the standard way without the trick. I mean, this isn't, you know, a massive game-changing difference, but if we revert it back to how it is normally, it's normally like this. And so it's well, it could be right. So it's a difference. It's an improvement. It's not a huge one, but it could end up substantially helping you in the proper situations. So this is only a modest difference, but it can get a lot more strange. So what happens now if yeah, difference of it's hard to really estimate points at this point, but no, there's a difference in points, absolutely. So what happens if black plays this move now? This you know, this whole tricky move. Well, white obviously plays here. And so now the question is, what happens? Yeah, black is kind of going to collapse now. You know, white just plays this, and black just starts sobbing to himself about how horrible this has turned out for him. Yeah, black kind of collapses. So it basically forces black to play the more defensive variation. So this can be considered, P17 can be considered being tricked, I guess, because it allows white to get a slightly better than normal result, but it's not a huge loss. So, but nevertheless, it's not the most active response. So let's see a few others. R15. R15 is an interesting move, but I still wouldn't recommend it. I think this is painful. And black can make a decent chunk of points along the right, I guess, but you know, he's really cost himself in the corner. He still needs to play another move to take the corner, and white has taken some shape on the outside. This isn't horrible for black, I suppose. You can make an exchange like this. This is a playable exchange depending on the board. So we could consider R15 one possible correct answer, yes. But it's very situation dependent. So you know, if black goes here, white is just going to play here, and now it's much harder for black to get a satisfactory result because S15 still has a lot more AGA on it than it did with black having R15 compared to Q15. So let's see. This is actually the other correct answer. So this is the most active way that black can respond to white, and you get a few really interesting variations that come out of it. So white will still wedge, and if black now attempts to push inside, you get a very interesting exchange. You basically get a one-way street to this happening, and black becomes thick outside. Yeah, no, black becomes thick outside, and white steals the corner. And it really depends here. It entirely depends, you know, how useful is black's thickness. I mean, if white controls a powerful group all along here, and white controls a powerful group all in here, and the, you know, if black can't make that much, or maybe if this cut is a critical weakness, it depends on the rest of the board. But sometimes this is okay for white. Sometimes it's okay for white. So let's say black plays defensively, like this. Now P16 has a very interesting use. You can essentially force with it twice, and then make this move. And you've basically done a trade here. You've made black's upper right corner bigger and stronger, but on the flip side, you've also made white's Q15 group a bit stronger than it normally would be. And yeah, N15 is big, but the key here is that, you know, this used to be black's area. Remember, white was outnumbered here 3-1 at the beginning, and when you start off being outnumbered 3-1, you can't expect yourself to get a 100% even result at the end of the exchange. You know, you're just outnumbered. I mean, so yeah, white has made himself a possible result here, but you know, the most active way for black to respond here is P15. So another very interesting, not necessarily huge. We're gonna, you know, we're starting out with more simpler ones, and then as we move along the lecture, it's gonna get into more complicated ones. So let's see, where's the next one? Let's see, which one's this? Ah, so this is an interesting one. If P1 is a trick, P1. Oh, P16. Yeah. No, there is a refutation. Just playing above it is fine. Just playing P15 is fine. Oh, did I miss one? Wait. Oh, I missed. Which one did I miss? Oh, I missed this one. Right. Okay, yeah, this one can end. This one can end pretty similarly, but white will usually end up getting this. If black attempts to cut, white will do this, and lo and behold, reverts to something you're probably familiar with. Voila. If yeah, white does get an okay result. Voila. Yes. So if you really want to try and refute it, do this and give up the corner and use your thickness. This would be if there's a refutation. Voila. Yeah, my French is cute. Okay, thank you. Right, and then you can expect something like this to happen. You know, we already did this variation. And this would be considered a refutation, depending on what's going on the rest of the board. Yeah, usually good for black. So that's really the refutation. But you know, we have a lot to go through. Let's if we have time at the end, we can go back and P16. All right, we'll take one more. Where P16, P15, R16. Yeah. R7. Oops. R17. Yeah. Ah, this method. But I don't think this works. Oh, this is a pretty cool one. Oh, are you going the Tanuki method? Yeah, there's fun ways to attempt to refute this, but we'll go back to this at the end. We have a lot more to get through. This is an interesting one though. Yeah, raccoon belly. We'll go back to that. Don't worry. So this is a interesting trick play. What's coming up next? It's actually difficult to say how when it's effective or not. But everyone's probably familiar with R13, and everyone's probably familiar, I hope, with hey yellow, what's up? And everyone's pretty familiar with P14. And now we have a very, very interesting move that can happen, is this move. P14 is a move you haven't seen. You will see it, but now white plays this move, and oh, don't worry, you will definitely see it as you go up in strength. And now you have this move, and this happens surprisingly commonly, but knowing how to refute it is very important. Yes, exactly. It has no respect for P14 in the slightest. So the obvious move for black is to go here, but actually the obvious move doesn't really end that well for black. So white takes the corner, and now it depends what black does. If black goes here and tries some sort of pincer, it's hard to make end up well for black. You know, black, even if black attempts this, white can just manage to do C16, and then white can do this. And black cannot say that he is particularly thrilled with this result. Except in the end at black 13. Yeah, so we're gonna get to that. That's the proper way. The way to beat this is by going like this. So, yeah. So this is nevertheless though, white can still end up actually with a decent result, depending on what happens here. you can make a very, very complicated ko come out of this right here. This can get very complicated very, very quickly. Depends who's going to win the ko fight, and it can get very complicated. If black just defends, honestly, it's probably a little bit better for white, depending on what's going on the board. But yeah, there's a big ko fight. So one way to know. The other way to refute it actually is this way. This gives white a little bit more, but you do manage to keep the corner. Sometimes this can be considered giving white too much. It depends what's going on the rest of the board, really. But if you just you want your corner back, this is the way to do it. If you want your corner back. So those are the two real ways to refute the move. This is just a very basic one, not really many variations. So let's go on to the next one that you may find. So approach, pincer. We have, now I'm sure some of you are extremely familiar with this one, but you don't need to yell out everything. But N3 is one I'm sure a lot of you are very familiar with. And this has a, this one is a very fun one. This is basically the 17-point sacrifice trick play. It is a very, very cool move, and you'd be surprised how often players try it. So if white attempts the obvious move, you know, to disconnect black stones, well, 18.5, excuse me. And so this is a one-way street. There's really not much variation here. White has to Atari there to get out, and then white goes in and it doesn't look good for black. But then, yes, this is the trick play refutation lecture. But then, suddenly black can get this. And white has to play there. And then, white can get that. And white can, white can threaten to connect under. And white can play up here. And black can win the liberty fight without a problem. Or white can win the liberty fight. But as the Invincible book says, black has made a wall of steel. And white has made himself a decent corner. But yes, white got owned is the best way to describe this result. And this is a pretty extensive variation, but it's a one-way street. I mean, there's really, you know, close to zero variation in terms of things that can be done. Yeah, it's a pretty wild one. But you get surprised. I've had this played on me multiple times. You would absolutely be surprised. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry the audio is not working. So then the question becomes, well, okay, so that's the trick play. But, and this one a lot of people don't know, how do you refute it? How do you refute N3? Any ideas? What should white do to refute it? Oh, of course, he doesn't hear, I'm sorry. Well, then you've luckily relayed my message. So, there. So let's see how to refute. We have a few ideas. We have one at R3. We have O4. We have P3. We have O3. Lots of ideas. Q7. Lots of interesting ideas. All right, let's take a look at these. Well, P3 is how to get tricked. So don't do P3. That's getting tricked. So let's see. You push it to P3 once and then play O6. I mean, okay, yeah, you can consider that. So this move isn't necessarily awful, but it's not really refuting the trick play. It makes white kind of have a base, but I mean, it's not horrible. It's possible, I guess, but it's not really the best move that white can play here. You want to punish the trick play, and here you really can. Yeah, white's shape is bad there. You can actually punish the trick play, and that's the important part. So O3 doesn't work that well because black can just do this, and it doesn't really work in terms of disconnecting. Same with this move, is that black can still manage to connect underneath. But whoever said Q7, congratulations, that is the right answer here. Very nice. So let's see. Where is that one? Yeah, here. So yeah, so shapely. So the general idea being, well, actually, if you want to, you can play P3 first. But now let's see what happens. Yes, FC, you get cookies. Congratulations. Whichever type of cookies you want, they're all yours. And now the critical move is here. And that's when you get this. And now black has a problem. He needs to defend himself over here. But if black does defend himself over there, it's black, of course, has no cut through here. The cut is defended. And black is very sad that this has happened. And so white has successfully refuted black's trick play. So this is a great example of a leaning attack. By leaning against this R7 stone here, white has managed to make himself strong enough to attack black's P2 group here. And, you know, leaning attacks are pretty common in trick play refutation, as in many other aspects of Go. So let's see. P6 instead of Q7. Yeah, I guess you can work with that. Yeah, RGM. That's RGM. That's okay. You can play that too. No, it's fine. It's also perfectly playable. They're both plus. They're both refutations. Sure. So all right, down to next one. This is a particularly interesting one, and also a particularly oh, sorry. Don't worry. We'll probably have time at the end to go back. This is a particularly interesting one. This one tricked me a few months ago. I was very angry that another Fordan would attempt to trick me with this, but he did, and I hadn't seen it before, and he got me with it, and I was deeply angered by it. So I made sure to learn it thoroughly and all the refutations, because, you know, it just goes to show you, even when you reach Fordan, even when you reach the Don levels, players will still attempt to play trick plays on you. So some of you are familiar, I'm sure, with one of the standard types of openings here, Kobayashi's opening. And this is very, very common. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with it. But this particular variation involves black playing K3 instead of K4. And so naturally, just like you know, normally white wants to do a far approach against the Q3 stone. And so white does. And now let's see what happens. White does a one space. Oh yes, black is low, but it's for the purpose of a trick play. So black does the pincer, and who knows what's white's normal move here? Anyone know white's normal move? Let's see, we have someone said Q5, P6. Well, I mean, you could attempt P6 here, but P6 is usually a little bit too nice. Well, it's the same thing, this pincer versus the one space low pincer. This is just a little bit better for the trick. But same concept. Yes, generally, you can answer this one. Yeah, this usually isn't that amazing for white, unless white has a lot of strength on the upper right. The most common two responses we normally see, actually, are R3 and the yellow, no, you can't answer. So, the most common moves we see here are R3 and Q4. Q4 is actually a lot more interesting, a lot more strange. But R3 is a very, very common one. Oh, P4 is also played sometimes. But this is the most common one that Yes, this is the most common one that you will find, and it's a very common one. And the normal joseki that happens from here goes, well, there's a few variations, but but the normal variation that happens is basically like this. And I'm sure some of you are familiar with having seen this. But this is not what black wants here. I mean, black has played this R8 stone, which is a little bit awkward now. So black is instead aiming for a really interesting little trick. So let's watch what happens. So first black plays this way, and then black plays this way, and then goes back and fills. So, white to play. Any ideas? It's not the easiest way to find a simple result. So yeah, there's the p5 forcing move. But from here, you know, there's not much that white can do. Yeah, p3 is the obvious choice, but trouble happens. Right. So this is what I attempted, and this is what happened in my game. But unfortunately, I was tricked here because this happens, and now it's just bad things, and it looks really stupid. And we can watch exactly how stupid it is. In fact, you know, this will happen, and then black can go here, and then black can force in there, and black can force in there, and white can force in there, and then white can descend, and then white can push, and then white can even play here, and white can do this, and white can make black look like a foolish lump. But at the end of the day, white's corner is dead. And white's center group is surprisingly not that strong. You know, it's up against black super strength. Yeah, I know, right? So this is a very, 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 very frustrating trick play. And it fooled me. Yes, I got fooled by this one. This angered me a lot. So I made sure to learn it thoroughly. Now, the other idea that might occur to some people is, well, what if white just wants to live in the corner? And white can live in the corner like this. But no one can really say that this is a fantastic result for white. You know, white has made himself 5 points in the corner, and black has himself thickness on all sides. So white is not particularly happy with this result either. Can you O3 instead of P2? Oh, you mean like this? Yes, you can make a ko here by doing this if you like. Absolutely. There is a ko here. However, and so good eye, but the ko is favorable for black. Namely because if black can, yeah, it's not easy for white to manage. So favorable ko for black, but excellent eye. Yes, 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 and yellow is correct. Yellow is correct. My move order is bad. You should do this first, for a very important reason. So now when this happens, now you get more interesting things. Well, yeah, I mean you get additional co-threats, but they don't have you don't have enough liberties. So. Yeah, don't worry about that. So yeah, very good eye. You can make ko in here, but it's not as favorable ko as could possibly be. So if this ends so badly, what is the correct way? Well, if white wants to play here, actually the other correct move that you can play is Q4 here, and this is perfectly playable for white in this case. If and now it just basically reverts to a normal joseki. If black plays here, what is white to play? Any ideas? White to play? Yep, R3. Right. Yep. And then black can even hane again. And then white can defend. And black can defend. And white can get out. And you can have a, fight continue apace. in this kind of way, and basically in exchange. That's a pretty basic way. Now, if black comes in here, a few more complicated things can happen. If black goes into R4, there's a lot of complicated things that will happen if white crosscuts. This can make for a very, very complicated fighting. The other way of playing is just double hane out here. And if white goes for a cut here, there's all sorts of more complex variations along the way. But yeah, you can expect this to happen, as R3 is the same position. Yeah, this is oh well, yeah, the crosscut. Well, potentially. Yeah, so the crosscut might be difficult for you. So this is probably the in this particular case, P3 is the simplest way for you to really do it if black attempts R4. Another good trick play to be aware of. So let's see, next one on the list. This one is very funny. When this was first showed to me, thankfully I've never had this one actually done to me, but I have seen it done to other people, and it's very, very, very frustrating when it's played on you. No, F2 is for later. Don't worry, we'll show F2. F2 is very fun. But so black responds normally, and now this is a better move for a handicap game because it will commonly appear. Now white plays this move, and now it gets very interesting. The instinctual black response, of course, is to just connect under, which actually itself is possible. But now something interesting happens. White plays another weird move at C5. Instinctual, yeah, I would, you know, C8 connects the stones. I mean, it seems like the instinctual move. But, of course, that's debatable. Follow the instinct moves, then die, right? So, yeah, this goes, yeah, I would not be surprised at all. So, now it gets interesting. So, the obvious move for black is to play D5. But if white isn't careful, bad things will happen, or if black isn't careful, bad things will happen. So black attempts to cut, and the white ataris, and then white ataris, and then white pushes down. And now black is in a really big pickle. A really bad pickle. If black attempts this, white will just do this. And force in here, and then force out here. Now, black can live and kill off white's corner without a problem. But white's pretty happy with getting something like this. No one can say that white is particularly depressed by this result. And there's still corner AGA, of course, still. If black attempts the other way, you have a pretty similar result that occurs. You know, throw in and descend, and now you get this. And then there and there. And white makes a big outside, and black doesn't really get that much. White's pretty happy usually with this result. Very fun trick to know. So there's a lot of ways to refute this one. This is a hard trick to make work. They have to play yeah, oh boy, 12 points. Right, so there's a few ways to refute this. The original move is actually fine. C8 is perfectly playable if you like. And this is also playable if you like. Or D5 is also playable if you like. But the key now is here. And this is a very situation-specific response. It depends what's going on in the upper left corner. If white is very strong there, then this is not as good. But one possible refutation is just pull back. And normally, you know, you're taught very early that this is a bad way to play. But in this particular case, your corner is big enough and F3 is weak enough that if white doesn't have a particularly well-developed group, in the bottom left or the top left, then you can make this work. This is perfectly playable, as black and white has been refuted in his designs. But the other way, what about e3? When? Play e3 when? Just right here? Yeah, you could consider that, I guess. It really depends what's going on in the rest of the board. You know, how much does getting d6 cut off hurt, for example? If white is extremely strong in the upper left corner, and you know, he does something like this, then it could get a little bit tricky. Or even if you know, white just does this and jumps, it could potentially get complicated. So I mean, it depends. You could play e3 in some situations, but it all depends about how d10 is doing. But the simplest way to refute it is just keep your stones connected. But the other way to refute is a very fun variation, actually. Black plays this move, and white attacks d4. Yeah, it looks pretty funny. And then white plays in here, and black plays in here. And now it gets very interesting. White can cut if he likes, but let's see what happens if white... well, this is the proper move for white. He should play b3. And then this, and then this. And if black really wants to be vicious, he can actually steal white's 2 eyes and start a very complicated fight going out into the center. But if black wants to play simpler from here, he can just, you know, place it in like this. And it's much simpler. But if white is greedy and white wants the corner for himself, well, he can capture c3. But let's see what happens. Now black gets this move. And this move itself isn't necessarily sente. But right afterwards, black's follow-up is sente. Black can go here and take this move, both in sente, and white has yeah, white has gotten himself, what, 4, 5, 6, you know, maybe 7 points in the corner, and black has made himself tremendous thickness on, oh, 8, excuse me. And I guess you could have the Atari at b5, okay, fine, a little bit more, but the point being, however many you want to count white's corner as, black has made a substantially better wall than white's corner, and white should be very, very sad that his trick play has failed so miserably. Yosei is a subject all on its own that we could discuss in terms of how big and counting. All right, so enough on this move. Let's go on to next one. This one. This is a very simple one, and one that works on a surprisingly large number of players. Yeah, this is these are pretty fun. So the normal move, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. So normal joseki, you know, Q14, and then white will attach in here, and then something like this will happen. And this is considered, you know, an expected normal joseki result. Yeah, I hope you know that one. But so now this one is a little bit trickier, and it's very, very fun to attempt to trick people. Instead of playing a normal move, black plays Q17. And this looks frustrating at first. White cuts. And then black cuts over here. Now here, sometimes you can actually consider just exiting this in the first place and cutting here. But this can become difficult to work. You need the ko. You need to be very confident that you can win this ko here. Because if you don't win this ko, then obviously, you know, your position is ruined. If white attempts to avoid the ko, it doesn't end very well for white. This is a very difficult situation for white to get himself out of. So normally you can't play that way. So normally white will descend to S17, and then black plays this. And so we have a relatively simple situation with only a few stones having been played, but the question now is, as white to play. Any ideas? Let's see, we have a P17. Well, if you have a billion co-threats. But assuming we don't have a billion co-threats and we can't fight to ko, this is what we would expect to happen. Q18. Yeah, P17 and Q18 are the two moves that naturally appeal to us for obvious reasons. Oh, S18. There's also S18 as well. All three of them are very good to look at. So let's take a look at the moves. So if white goes like this, black will go like this, and white will go here, and black will go like this, and this is the expected result. And black takes the corner, and white's shape is still flawed. So white's not particularly thrilled with that result. So next, Q18 looks like a intuitive response. And at first glance, you know, it looks all right. Because sure, white's in the corner, but it seems like at least white can fight this way. But the problem now for white, it would be one thing if this was just a straight up fight, but the corner's dead. Yeah, exactly. This is a really interesting life and death problem that will potentially make you laugh. White's upper right corner is dead if white doesn't play another move, because black has this really nifty Tessigy. And you know, black just descends and then plays C17, and suddenly white can't make his second eye because it's self-Atari to make your own eye, which is a really funny situation. You know, magic happens at the 2-1 point, and this is just a really funny situation. And so white ends up dying. So white would, of course, have to play this move, which would now make the situation much better for black. White is, of course, very sad if this happens. So the correct answer is just do this. And then just do this, and give him the 2 stones, and extend. And, you know, black's corner isn't big. I mean, so what? Black has made, what, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, what, 12 to 14 points? And that's a decent corner, but let's compare this to normal Joseki. You know, one of the most common Joseki is this, that we can expect to happen. And this is basically the same exact thing. Oops. This is basically the same exact thing, except that white has gotten himself a free move here. Yes. White has gotten himself a free move right there in Sente. And so this is so we can consider the refutation for white of this trick play slightly superior to black's result. It's not a huge loss for black if white refutes it, but it is a loss for him. It is a loss. I don't think it used to be considered Joseki. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I know for a fact it's not considered Joseki today. But well, right, everything is relative. Okay, so this one is a little bit more complicated. We're slowly moving up the complication ladder. So this one's going to be a little more complicated, but is nevertheless very important to know, especially for those of you who are approaching the Dawn levels. You will see this very frequently as you progress. You know, Q13 is just a not Magic Sword. Q14 or Q13 is sure a move that you're all very familiar with. And then this move, and this move just makes a lot of people scratch their heads. But it's a very valuable one to know. This one is a very funky variation. Actually, it has a lot of very funky variations. And I have I have tricked 5 Dawn in tournaments. I have actually tricked them with with this move. Not that I'm saying you should play trick plays, but you know, if there's someone you just really want to beat sometimes. Anyway, so. So white naturally will extend, and then black plays in here, and then white harness, and then white harness, and now it gets really interesting. Black cuts, and so now the question I have to ask is, white to play. Oh God, exactly. So white to play. Any ideas? I've had this played on me multiple times. This is actually one of the most frequent trick plays that's been done against me. And it's a semi-trick play, actually, because there are Joseki that come out of it. It's just a very obscure Joseki. Lots of interesting moves. P18, geez. Huge number of variants. N16. Lots of interesting stuff. Okay. Oof, and 015. Alright. These are, we could name off new moves all day, but 6 is enough for us to look into. Actually, I don't know all of these. So, this move will make white stronger on the outside, but the problem is it weakens 017. And so this is now a lot harder for white to make something work in the corner. Let's see some of the others. So this is an interesting move. I don't think it quite works though, because black will respond at P18, and now white has a problem. I mean, if white forces his way out, then black will capture those stones in a net, and the result is superior for black. So let's see. This move is pretty dangerous because you're leaving weak shape behind and you're letting black out. So N16, you might be able to make something good with it. Actually, I'm not entirely positive, but it's extremely complicated. The key moves here to look at though are B, D, and A are very, very important moves to look at. So let's look at the classic move. Is the most common one you'll find, and the simplest is P18, and it's a fine move. And yes, you get cookies, but we're out of chocolate chip, so only sugar cookies. Sorry, we'll get some more later. So white Atari's there, and then he plays N17, and so now the question is black to play. Any ideas? Black to play? Not that many variations here. Yeah, Eidogo has some errors. It's based on Kogo's Joseki dictionary, which also has some errors. Ah, 015, excellent. Yes, 015 is the move we want to do for a very specific purpose. Now, this is an interesting situation that a lot of times people will miss. I have seen all sorts of interesting responses here. And it's almost, what I've seen some people do is, just extend out here with M17 and escape. But this is problematic. And yes, white does have to Q15, but a lot of people miss that there's a ladder here. It looks like it doesn't work, but there's a ladder. And it's so easy to miss. And yeah, it's incredibly easy to miss if you've never seen it before. And people will attempt to trick you like this. I promise you. Especially as you get stronger, it will happen because it's just it's fun and it's a really sneaky ladder. So actually, the proper move for white is this move. And then for black, actually, it's very tempting for black to want to play a move like M17, but it gets very, very complicated here. And if both sides play properly, the corner dies, as black's corner dies. So this is not likely favorable for. It gets incredibly messy. I could actually discuss just the variants of this trick play for another 20 minutes if we like, but I'm going to get through a few others. If you want to talk to me about this particular one later on at a future time, we can. But yeah, it gets extremely messy, which is why the proper move is this one. And then white will push, and black will push, and white will jump, and then sometimes black will play at J15 or O13. And this is even as complex as this is the simplest of the Joseki variations. This one's the simplest one. So let's go back here where we can see all the other interesting moves. This move is yeah, I'll take a look at the double Kokari. I'll look into that. Okay, this way is this is very interesting. I don't think this is ideal for white. Well, it can work for white, but black might consider attempting a counterattack. like this, and now it gets very complicated for both sides in terms of ladders and counter ladders. But one of the most interesting counters, which will trick countless people, which have tricked countless people, is this move. And this looks silly at first if you don't read out the ladder, because, well, why doesn't white just capture the 2 stones? But that doesn't work, because as we saw, there's a ladder here. And as silly as it looks, yes, oh, I've seen it happen to my 4-Don friends. No, Don players will absolutely have gotten tricked with this. Yeah, and then white has to settle for this, and then just white just cries, and yeah, white cries afterwards. And that, kids, is why you always read out your ladders. Exactly. Okay, so, but one of the most complex variations is this way, and this can get absolutely wild. There's all sorts of very, very stupidly complex variations within it, but in essence, yeah, this one is absolutely wild. And then white goes like this. And yeah, so I could spend about 20 minutes just on this one. But long story short, the proper way for black to play is this Taisha, which some of you are familiar with. Some of you who are approaching the Dons, I hope, have seen before. It looks like white's doing really well, but then there's a really cool throw-in. And then a really nice move right there. And now white cannot play this way, because, of course, that kills white. So white needs to play something like this. And then black will play in. And white, of course, cannot play S18. White needs to play, something like this. And then black plays in. And then white can often finish his shape up like this. And both sides end up with a shape that just really makes you scratch your head and wonder, what's going on here. Yeah, this is just one of the simpler results. You can get all sorts of stupid, complicated things happen if black wants to attempt this. This normally fails, but it gets stupidly complicated. Yeah. So, but the main point being is that this way is the proper move. But just something to be prepared for. So yeah, that's really all the variations on this one. Let's go on to the next one. So what is the point of Q16? The point of Q16 is to either attempt to connect under to M16, or to trick your opponent, or to split the corner. That's really the point of N16 of Q16. So oh, what should I point out? Oh yeah. Well, the Joseki can arise from other positions as well. Well, the specific corner variation can arise from other positions as well. Absolutely. So okay, this is a very good one to look at. I'm sure most of you are very familiar in this case with black playing this move, and white, of course, plays here, and black defends. White defends, black defends, white takes out the corner, and nice simple Joseki 101. But this is actually one of my favorite moves to play. I've actually had professionals tell me that if you are playing a stronger player in a handicap game, in a 2 to 3 stone handicap game, and they play the 5-4 point, that you should never, ever, 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 ever play the 3-4 point, because they will respond at Q13, and there are just so many stupid variations that can happen here. It's just not worth it. I've had professionals tell me that. If you don't know what you're doing, you can yeah, you can Tanuki here as white. Very good. Very good RGM, yes. So one proper response as white is to Tanuki, which is a great reply. And then black goes here, and then white has a really cool Taisha. Do you, RGM, do you know the Taisha that white has? Excellent, yes. So then this is the slightly odd Taisha that white has, and then white plays that again. And so this is very advanced stuff. This is a way to Tanuki and manage to get yourself out okay. But that's not our trick play. our trick play is white's going to play normally. White's going to play here expecting black to play this move. But that's not going to happen. Black's going to play here. And then white's going to cut. And then black's going to play R17. And now sometimes people think about this one a lot, but there's really only one move that can possibly be considered good here. Any ideas? There's only one move here that's even close to being good. Yeah, it's S17. Because that stops black from playing O17, and it strengthens white. It does a lot of purposes. And this happens. And so then black, of course, cannot play this move naturally because, you know, the corner dies. So this would obviously be stupid for black. So black has to play P18. And then white extends. And then black plays O18. And now, please, Don players, don't answer just yet. But now we have a very interesting situation. And so the question is, for our Q players first, what should white do? Any ideas? Let's see, we have a psst. Yeah, psst isn't an answer. And just wait a bit. Don't worry, wait a bit. You'll be able to answer soon enough. So we have a P14, we have T18, we have P15. I have no doubt that you know generally. I have no doubt. So, or Q14. So, okay, so these are interesting moves to look at. Generally, why don't you tell us the correct one? Huh? Do you know the correct one? Ah, C, yes. C is the correct one. So the problem with doing this is normally a good move, but it's bad timing because black will do this. And now it's problematic for white. I mean, white can live in the corner, of course, but, you know, so what? Not pleasant for white. So it's a matter of timing. But T18 is a good move to know for later. The problem with this move is, you know, black can do this. And then this. And doesn't exactly get very pretty for white from here. White might be able to live, but not with much grace. Yeah, don't Tanuki here. So actually our correct move is P15. But a common mistake that countless players will play, and that you need to never play, is N17, which is very tempting, but it is wrong. Because black will do this. And this just gets ugly for white. Now it looks at first like white has a lot of flexibility here. You know, white can extend all the way to S13. But now, because of black has just barely strong enough shape to play very, very viciously in his response. Black can play all the way at S12 in his response. And if white attempts to capture S12, well, then black will just do this and capture the 4 stones and give white a you know, a modest panuki. And black will just play like this. And black's pretty happy. You know, no complaints. So if white does the more classic live inside, white can play like this. Yeah, this is being recorded. I'm going to post it on YouTube. And this happens. And black responds. And white can technically live. But, you know, at what cost? I mean, white lives, but white's not happy about living. Yeah, white is very, very, very depressed. So, now one really interesting thing that white can attempt to do is try and capture black stones. But black has a really good counter for it. Any ideas, black to play to keep his trick play alive? Right, O13 first, but then what? Oh, a lot of debate. Jeez, no consensus. All right, let's take a look at some of them. So we have N15, we have N14, we have R14, we have N13. Jeez. We have Q15G, lots of variations. Whew. All right, all useful to look at. So let's look at R14. So with R14, you know, black can capture those 2 stones on the outside, but I mean, white will end up getting this, and yeah, this is too good for white. You know, it looks like black can escape, but he actually can't escape. This will happen, and assuming actually, don't even need a ladder. Ha! This is really funny. Really funny. Really, really funny. And he's still stuck in a ladder. Yeah, that's super owned. Yeah, that's kind of badly owned. So, yeah, funny. It's amazing the magic you can do with liberties, but that's a side discussion. The point being, R14 has the wrong target. Now, you could play Q15 here, but I don't like Q15 because it's just Ajikeshi. You know, white's going to respond here, and now you lose the chance to play R14 yourself later. And, you know, Q15 doesn't really help black that much. So let's take a look at some of the others. So the 3 choices we have now are this move. So this move looks like it's going to get it, but you need to have a ladder. This move is ladder dependent. If black has a ladder, then you can work with this. If black doesn't have a ladder, then white is happy. So, but let's assume for a second that he does not have a ladder. Let's look at N14. At first glance, this looks really good. But the problem with it is this move, which is a really creative response. It forces black to capture, and it's sent against the corner. Exactly. And so now black dies miserably in the corner. And yeah, black's not going to win this fight. No, black is not going to win this fight. So the proper move is N15. And white can just manage to slip out here. But, you know, then black can do this, and do this, and just barely, barely, barely get himself out. So, doesn't quite work. Of course, if white just extends up, you know, black has enough flexibility to do this. And white can live, and, you know, black, of course, is thrilled. White is very, very sad that this has happened. So, there's actually a second part to the trick here that you can do, even if white plays properly. Now, normally here, there's a big fight, a huge fight that revolves around this, that can oftentimes spread throughout the entire board. And that's why it's so common in handicap games, because you're just daring your opponent to make a mistake in the fighting. But one interesting strategy that black can try is to keep pushing at N17. So black pushes once, and then black pushes again, and you can even push a third time. And then you can finish up at T18. And so now white can escape. The standard, the classic move that you want to escape with is this. But then black has the rather interesting P14. White can protect his cuts. Then black can continue moving himself out and chasing. And now it just gets stupidly... the easiest way to say this is stupidly complicated. Yeah, this just gets really, really, really complicated. And Ruckusy, yes, having to do with Ruckus. Very, 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 very complicated. So, all starting, and so this goes back to the original point of don't play the 3-4 when your opponent has the 5-4 in a handicap game, because they're going to do this, and it's not going to be pleasant. There's all sorts of other approaches you can do. You can do the 3-3 approach, you can do this approach. All of them are vastly, vastly less complicated than the horrible, horrible things that can happen in this Joseki against someone stronger than yourself. So, very interesting. Oh, poor fight. Proper response is, proper response here is, Tanuki, really. Tanuki is fine. If you want to play locally, you could just do this. Black will end up a little bit low, and, you know, locally you can consider it slightly superior for black. But even though white is very low, black has a weakness right here. Black needs to spend another move to ensure that his stones are okay. So this is a simpler way. The other simple response to make it out okay is this move, which you will often see. If Black insists upon descending, you will get a fight like this, and then White will push here, give Black some center points, and go like this. And so in essence, White gets a sizable corner, and Black gets some center thickness. Yeah, it's a fun way of playing. All sorts of interesting moves. All right, let's go on to the next one. We're running a little short on time. So let's see, which one is this? This is just a silly one that some of you may be familiar with. This is a funny little one. Now, the obvious idea that everyone wants to try is S16 because it looks like such a great intuitive move. But the problem with S16 is it has bad weaknesses, depending on what's going on the rest of the board. Yeah, White has this wedge here, and and this wedge is very, very difficult for Black to deal with very well. So if Black goes like this, for example, White will just do this. And then if Black goes out here, White will go out here, and they basically trade. And Black can still get a not a horrible result from it, but if on the other hand Black does this, naturally White will cut here, and then Atari up here, and you have to have the ladder to play this way as White. So this also isn't particularly amazing for Black. But the proper response, the very, very simple response, anyone know? Yeah, R17. It is the proper move. White just comes back here. Exactly, it just transforms S17 into a too early Yosei move. Because this converts to be exactly like White doing this, Black doing this, and then White playing here. Tewari. Yep, Tewari power. Exactly. So R17, that's just a cute little trick. So let's go on to the next one. Okay, so this is a particularly interesting one. I'm sure those of you who are approaching or at the Dawn levels have seen this one countless times in your games and in the games of other Dawn players. It's very, very, very common. So, Black normally plays here, and White responds there, and Black plays Q16, and now it gets rather interesting. Instead of the normal move of R14, White plays this move, which, as we all makes us all cry in terms of our shape. Doesn't Black O14? Black O14's in a bit, a little bit later. Yeah, this is really cool. All right, so the normal Joseki is just to go into that is this. Black plays there, and then this, and this is the simplest variant. And then White will usually finish up with something like this. And this is the classic variant that I'm sure many of you will have seen before. But this is a particularly interesting trick. And it's if this trick fails, then Black's result ends up horrible. But if it fails, White ends up horrible. But if it succeeds, Black ends up horrible. So if Black plays the Hane, and now White plays an even more interesting move. Yeah, horrible for one side. White Hanes again. And now it gets stupidly complicated. Like many of these situations, it can get stupidly complicated. But if you look through the variations, the only path for Black to take right now is R15. There is simply no other move that has a chance at succeeding. And then he connects out. And now it's White's turn, and what is White to play? Any ideas? White only has one right move. Every other move is bad. What is white's one right move? Yes, O16. You gotta take that cut. Gotta take the cut. And then black has no choice but to play O17. And then black plays this. And then white extends. And then black plays the only shape move he has at P18. And now comes the critical point. These are all pretty forced moves. If any other move is played besides these moves, then it's going to fail miserably. But now comes to the hard part. Black to play. Black to play. Any ideas? Don players, feel free to pipe in. This is not an easy one to answer properly if you haven't seen it before. O13, Q17. Well, O13 is very tempting, but I mean, it's not going to work just yet. You know, you have to resolve the corner situation, really. So, oh, we seem to have a consensus on Q17. Well, congratulations, you are correct. Yes, Q17 is the proper move, not Q18. Q18 can start some really fascinating co's that we just don't want to fight. So, but it still is interesting because white can still attempt to refute it, but it doesn't work very well. So white will attempt to kill black like this and then play inside. But now white has a really cool Taisha at S19. Or, yeah, black has a really cool Taisha, thank you. Black has a very cool Taisha. And black has the clamp here. And because of white's weak shape, there is no way white can descend. And after all this time, white in the corner is dead. White has no choice but to allow this. And white cannot play this move because he just dies. And so it has backfired horribly on white. And yes, there's many variations. We could discuss all sorts of fun. I'm just showing the basic ones because we're going through a lot of them. So last one of the night. This is a fun Taisha. This is a pretty basic Taisha Taisha. So as those of you that know Taisha, this is the beginning of Taisha, also known as the Joseki of 1,000 variations, and it has that name for a reason. It's stupidly complicated. There's all sorts of moves that black can play here, but the simplest one is P14. And let's let some of the Q players try and answer this one, guys, simply because I'm sure a lot of the Don players know this one very well. So the normal move for black is to play N18 here. And, you know, both sides will just continue their fight into the center and, you know, continue on course. But there's an interesting little trick play here. M16, not M15. So, any Q players in the room? Any ideas how to respond? Let's see, we have N17. We have O17. Yeah, N17 is hard to make work. We have O17. Alright, so O17 is of course the intuitive choice. And then black goes here. And now it's white's turn. White to play. N18, yeah. The intuitive choice. But now black does something really interesting. Instead of just defending his stone, he cuts. And now it's if white doesn't know the trick here, it's a pretty one-way street. Let's see what happens. So white cuts, black descends, white continues the chase, but now something really funny happens. Yes sir, you got it. You go throwing, and then you do an Atari, and then you play this way. Now it still looks like white might be able to manage to get his way out of this situation, but black has a really cool Tesuji at Q19, and white has just died horribly and miserably and unpleasantly. Now interestingly, R18 doesn't work. It looks like it might work, but the problem is it just gets this happen. Yes. Yes, and so this is known as the Stone Tower, but I prefer to call it the Tombstone Tesuji, because what you literally have here is a tombstone, signaling your death. So, you sure this is the last one? Well, I'm sure more trick plays exist in the world. I mean, if you gave me some time, I could probably think up a few more. But my voice is getting sore, and we've been going for almost 90 minutes. So, yes. So, where do I find these? 5 years of playing Go, I guess. You just get them. Also, I bought a Chinese trick playbook, which is really interesting. There's a few more, though. Unfortunately, I don't speak Chinese, so it's hard to understand. But nevertheless, the variations are interesting. Anyway, so the main point of this lecture was to go into, obviously, I'm sure we learned a lot of trick plays, but the main idea of this lecture was how to refute trick plays and what the trick plays look like, so you know what to expect when someone does them on you. Now, naturally, I have no doubt that some of you will say, oh, I'm just going to play around with all of these trick plays as soon as this lecture ends and throw them out in your games like, bullets out of a semi-automatic machine gun. But all I will say to that is that if you really rely on these trick plays to just win your games, if you, oh yeah, we didn't refute the last one, did we? Well, okay. But if you rely on these tricks to attempt to win your games for you, you are not going to be able to improve. Relying on them is like a crutch. And while someone, while maybe a Q player will always fall for a lot of these, as you get stronger, players will know how to answer each and every one of them. So, if you're, if you're playing a 4-dan on KGS, most 4-dans usually know about as many trick plays as I do. Some of them know, some I don't. I know some they don't. But, by the time you get to the Dons, most of the trick plays are going to become a lot harder to make work. So, as for refutation, the way to refute it is actually you go all the way here, and then as white, you just play this move. And it gets very, very, very funny. Because now black has all of these stupid problems to deal with, and black tries to fix this move, and then white can just do this. Can you get out? And then black has to fix this move, and now white just does this. And white is happy enough with this kind of result. Well, this result isn't great for black. So yeah, black is unhappy here. Black has attempted to trick white and has ended up not happy. So this is the lecture on refuting trick plays. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you have any ideas for other lectures, feel free to send me a message. Hope you enjoy this. I know so many stupid Taisha trick plays. I could do a whole 90-minute lecture on Taisha trick plays. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you all next week.